I think they have done a great job and very deserving of a nice round of applause, if you would. I think it gets close as we talk about the top three. I thought all did a really good job in terms of maintaining the control on that thing and showing me all angles as they came as we continue on the drive here, keeping them the right speed and being able to have them do everything that they need to do. So I thought there was 3 young ladies on the top that did a really good job, and I thought it was close, but we're going to go ahead. The two girls on the far side of the ring here, one directly in front of me, off belt gilt's going to be champion. Young lady with the mostly black gilt's going to be reserved. Congratulations to those two, and a really good job at all the first year showmen.
And your champion first year swine showman goes to Haley Harder, and your reserve goes to Lauren Harder. Both with purples. In third is Asha Goodman. Fourth, Ashlyn Borkman with the purple. Fifth, Nate Jensen with the blue. And sixth, Riley blue. Congratulations. Let's do first call for Class 1 breeding gilts. First call for Class 1 breeding gilts. And final call. In Class 1 of Berkshire is Monica Osborne, Ethan Greiner, Jack Jensen, Ryan Conover, and Taven Moore.
Isn't there one more coming?
No, one more. No.
First call for Class 2 Hampshire. First call for Class 2 Hampshire.
a really nice class of Berkshire Gilts to go ahead and start off the breeding side of things here. The young man on the far side of the ring there is going to go ahead and lead this particular class. I think the sort between the gilt that's going to go first and the one that's going to be second is solely from a skeleton standpoint. When you step off to the side of that one's much better in terms of the angle to her blade. Allows her to function with more mobility and more reach out of the front end of her skeleton. That one reads to be the taller shouldered one that's better in terms of her head and neck. The balance is better as you step off to the side. Like that one, how she functions and motors as she goes off the rear too. I think that's where that one wins. Nothing to take away from the young man's gilt in second. Definitely appreciate that one for how much just true width she has to get into the backside of her blade, down into her forerib and through her flank. So definitely appreciate her from that standpoint. She is the stouter featured, bigger legged option of the top two. Just from a skeleton standpoint, where I take issue, she just gets a little upright in terms of her blade. Just doesn't want to quite have as much flex and comfort off of those rear two. I do think that's a really nice skill to go ahead and stand in second. Young man on the far side of the ring is going to be in third. Thought there was some sort between third and fourth. I like that young man to be third just from the standpoint that one just got more everywhere you study her. She's bigger in terms of her chest. She's got more shape. She's on the top side of her skeleton or stepping from behind. To move that one up, we just got to give her a shot more look and just fill her out there through her center skeleton. And I think we get into a pair at the bottom end here in fourth and fifth. Ones that got some advantages just in terms of rib shape and in terms of look. We just got to open those things up and just clean them up a little bit in terms of their throat latch as we study them there. But a really nice class of Berkshire Gilts to go ahead and start off the breeding show. Give those exhibitors a nice round of applause.
And your champion Berkshire Breeding Gilt goes to Taven Moore, and your reserve champion Berkshire Breeding Gilt goes to Ryan Conover. Final call for Class 2 Hampshire. First call for Class 3 all other breeds. First call for Class 3 all other breeds. Entering our Class 2 Hampshire is Kent Elliott and AJ Harder.
One AJ showing 1182.
into a nice trio of Hampshire gilts here. I definitely think there's some sort when we talk all three of these, and specifically from a skeleton standpoint. The one that's the safest, and I'm going to stick with this young lady's gilt here in the center to go ahead and win this class. I think you talked about, obviously, first off, I want to fix on skeleton. She deviates at her knee, wants to twist in terms of her pastern as she comes down to the ground. I think as you compare her to the two that are going to go below her, that one's good in terms of her rib shape there through her center body. She's got enough bulk as you get on the top side of her skeleton. That one's the most secure in terms of her hip and her hock as she goes down to the surface as you step in from behind. I think that one's good enough from a look standpoint. Want to change it right there. I think it does get close between first and second. That gilt definitely, I like that one more as you get off to the side. That's the shorter back one that balances a little bit better and reaches better in terms of her lines. From a skeleton standpoint, we step in from behind that one. That one just gets too bowy and wants to push her hock outside there, and one also on the front end of her skeleton. That one wants to twist and deviate on her passage as she hits the ground too. But from a presentation standpoint, from an extension standpoint, that's where she beats the one that's going to be in third. That one's got some advantages. You study her there just in terms of stoutness of feature and her forearm shape there. But in relation to the other two, just want to pick that one up, being a little moderate just for me today. And another one you step in from behind, she just wants to set that foot outside the plane of her body there. Just want to pull her back in a little bit there, pick her up a little bit in her time. I think three nice Hampshire gilts. Congratulations, those exhibitors.
The champion Hampshire breeding gilt goes to AJ Harder, and the reserve champion goes to AJ Harder. The champion will take a purple, and the reserve will take a blue. Final call for class 3, all other breeds. Final call for class 3, all other breeds. And first call for lot 1 breeding gilts for crossbred breeding gilts. Entering the ring will be Brooklyn Buck, Caitlin Greiner, and Delaney Gosshorn. Final call for class 1 crossbred breeding gilts. Final call for crossbred breeding gilts.
Class of AOB gilts here. I think the young lady in the blue shirt is an easy place for me to start in this particular class. I think that one especially, step off to the side, that's the one that just looks like that one's tall shouldered, extended from her blade forward. I like that one in terms of her feature through her skull and her jawline. That one, yes, still the short body one that balances extremely well from the side. That one's got plenty of feature in terms of her forearm and her foot size as she goes down to the surface. Checks all the boxes from a skeleton standpoint for me as well. And the other Durdock gilt's going to be second. I think it gets close between second and third. I like that one over the gilt that's going to be in third just from a standpoint of functionality. That one's got some extensions you get there from blade forward, but more importantly, I mean, she stays north and south in terms of her feet where she meets the ground as she comes and goes. Would like to pick that one up a little bit in terms of her shoulder, give her a shot more there through her center skeleton to move her up any higher. That's where I like her, though, over the gilt that's going to be in third. Definitely appreciate that one just from a bulk and a capacity standpoint. That one opens up extremely square out of the backside of her blade. She's definitely got more there as we study her through her center skeleton. Just from a build standpoint, that one just wants to get a little bit tiresome as we study her out of her rear tube. Wants to get a little bit too much set in her hop there and flip outside of the plane of her hip. Just want to fix her there a little bit, maybe give her a shot more look up front, but I think 3 nice purebred gilts in that particular class.
Your champion, all other breeds breeding gilt, goes to Delaney Gosshorn, and your reserve with the blue goes to Caitlin Greiner. Final call, class 1 crossbred breeding gilts, final call. First call, class 2. First call, class 2. Entering the ring is Taylor Black and Alex Osdemore. A little about our judge is John Triggs. He lives outside Pella, Iowa with his wife, Riley. He was a member of the 2015-2016 Iowa State Livestock Judging Team. Currently, he is a sales manager for Mash Offs and manages Triggs Show Pigs with his brother, Tyler. Thank you, John.
Get into the first class of cross gilts here. The young man's broken belted gilt's an easy place for me to start. Get off to the side of that one. That's the tall shouldered one that's extended from blade forward. Really like that one in terms of her skull shape and her jawline. That one's really big in terms of her forearm and massive in her foot as she goes down to the surface there. That one's extremely fresh. Like that one from a point. Nice skill to go ahead and start this class. Young man that's going to be in second. That one's got some extensions. You study her from blade. She's got enough in terms of her center skeleton, just comparatively to the classroom. We just need to open that one up just more everywhere we study her. Nice class across skills to go ahead and start those off. Congratulations, those exhibitors.
Alex Osmore with the first purple and Taylor Black with your second purple. Final call for class 2. Final call for class 2. Entering class 2 will be Alex Osmore, Bella Lascala, McKenna Sick, and Luke Christensen. First call for class 3. First call for class 3.
get into a nice class of cross yield, specifically on the top pair here. The young man's black-headed yield's another easy place for me to start in this class. I think that one paints an awesome silhouette as you get off to the side of her. She's tall-shouldered, extremely extended there from blade forward. She's stout in terms of her skull. Now I would shorten her up ever so slightly in terms of her face there. That one's got enough skeletal width as we get on the bottom side of her, and she's right in terms of her center body as well. Really like that one to go ahead and lead this class. Young lady's belted yield that's going to be in second. Really nice one that's gonna land in second. Definitely appreciate that one as you get on the top side of her skeleton. She's extremely bold as you get out of the back side of her blade. That one's stouter in terms of her upper hip, and definitely stouter in terms of her pin set as you study her there. Another one that's got the advantage over the two that go below her just in terms of extension and reading right from the side and balancing. Where I come into issue with her over our class winner, she just wants to get a little bit shorter in terms of her hip there. Just doesn't want to quite flex and just have as much reach out of her rear too as our class winner. I think a nice one to go ahead and land in second. Young man's blue gilt that's going to be in third. I like that one just from the standpoint of bulk and capacity. Whether you get on the top side of her, whether you study her there through her center skeleton, that's where she rises over the gilt that's going to be in fourth. Just want to fix that one in terms of her front skeleton as we study her. That one just wants to twist there in terms of her posture as she goes down to the surface. Just gives up a shot of look there compared to the top two. And the young lady that's going to round out the class, another one you have to appreciate is you study her there from blade forward in terms of having enough extension. That one's feminine and looks right to be a female there, just in comparison to ones that go above her. She's above her, just gets a little frailer as we study her in her bone work, maybe a little bit drier and a little bit harder there through her center body. And another good class of crossbred yields. Let's go ahead and give those exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Final call for class 3. In class 2, with a purple, first place purple goes to Alex Osmore, second place purple goes to McKenna Sick, and Bella and Luke take blues. In class 3, Alex Mass, Lila Spencer, and AJ Harder. First call for class 4. First call for class 4.
Young man on the far side of the ring is going to start this class. I think does so fairly handily again, in my opinion. I think that one just reads the most genuine, the most true in terms of her shape, in terms of her skeletal width in comparison to the gilt that's going to go in second. And step off to the side of that one. That one picture, she's tall-shouldered, extended. That one's probably right there in terms of her center body. Would like to bulk her up just ever so slightly in terms of her forerib. That one's the best, though, in terms of how much true, fresh shape she's got on the top side of her skeleton, and yet one that's got plenty of flexibility and plenty of comfort as she comes and goes off both ends of her skeleton. Young lady with the painted up gilt's going to go ahead and be in second. I think one that's definitely dialed in from a presentation standpoint. The young lady does a heck of a job getting her stuck. I just think in comparison to our class winner, that one's just not as fresh. She's on the top side of her skeleton. It was a little bit narrower as you study her through her chest floor. I would like to stouten her up a little bit in terms of her skull and in terms of her jawline there. I think one that's got the advantage in terms of extension and in terms of look over our gilt that's going to be in third. That one probably does read better there through her forerib and back into her flank and her center skeleton there in comparison to the gilt that goes in second. That one's got some nice pieces as we study her there. I just don't think she just blends as well and balances as much as the two that go above her. And just like to open her up a little bit on the bottom side of her skeleton. Another good class of crossbred gilts. Go ahead and give those exhibitors a nice round of applause.
In First with the purple goes to AJ Harder, second with the purple goes to Lila Spencer, and third goes to Alex Mass with the blue. Final call, class 4, final call, class 4. First call for final drive breeding guild. Call for final drive breeding guild.
Round out with a pair of them here for the last class of the cross fields. The young man on the far side of the ring is going to win this particular class. I think one is he step off to the side, does so just from a balance standpoint and how that one reads in her lines. I mean, that one's fresher in terms of her shape as you get on the top side of her skeleton. That one's just a notch shorter body there, allows her to balance better. And she stays square and goes north and south as we study her off both ends of her skeleton there. I think a nice place to start with the young man's guild. Nothing to take away from the young lady's guild that's going to be in second. That one's got some good pieces as we study her there in terms of extension. That one's still got some shape and some spread as we get on the top side of her skeleton. That one just gets a notch frail in terms of her ankles. We study her there and wants to get a little flat in terms of her pastern as she goes down to the surface. And one ultimately just want to shorten up a couple ribs there, just allow her to balance a notch better, allow all those pieces to fit together. I think a nice pair of cross fields to go ahead and round out this portion of the show. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Breeding guild. Final call for the final drive of the crossbred breeding guild. Entering the final drive will be Taylor Black, Alex Osdemore, another pig by Alex Osdemore, Mechanic Sick, Lila Spencer, AJ Harder, another pig by AJ Harder, and Haley Harder.
out here for champion crossbred yell. I think it gets close between two of them as we talk about reserve, but the one that's going to suit me best, one's from a skeleton standpoint, from a build, ones that have plenty of look are definitely ones that fit the build for me, and I think the one that wins today does it fairly handily, and one that you talk about as you get off to the side, she's extremely tall fronted, love her in terms of her skull and how she reads through her jawline and through the base of her neck down to her sternum. I think one that stays square off both ends of her skeleton, and one that's got plenty just in terms of spread dimension as you study her there. But I think a really nice gilt to go ahead and win. Young man's black-headed gilt's going to go ahead and be champion cross. Congratulations to him. And we'll talk about him as I think we get closer here for reserve. I think it's between the young man's gilt on the far side of the ring and the young lady's gilt directly ahead of me here. Just kind of how I read them. The young man's gilt, just in no particular order here. Young man's gilt, that one's tall shouldered. She's got enough look as you get off to the side of her. And that one balances extremely well as you study her there. If you want to pick on that one, just in relation to how much she's got in terms of the top side of her skeleton, in relation to what she's got down to the surface, maybe you need to stouten her up a little bit in terms of her ankle and in terms of her bone size as she goes down there. Maybe bulk that one up a little bit in terms of her forerib and just give her a little bit more expansion there to be a notch fresher. That's extremely highly presented one, and that's how I read that one. And the young lady's gilt, the broken belted gilt, one that's got some extremely neat pieces just in terms of being extremely stout about her skull and her jawline. That one's got huge speed as she goes down to the surface. I think where she's at from a maturity standpoint, that one's extremely bold as you get into the center part of her skeleton there, and yet one that's extremely fresh up high. I think in comparison there, you could clean that one up ever so slightly in terms of her neck and in terms of her throat as you study her there. I think extremely high quality gilt. I think it gets close between those two. I think the pieces are just too hard to ignore. The young lady's broken belted gilt, that one suits me second best. She'll be reserved cross. Congratulations, sir.
And your champion crossbred breeding gilt goes to Alex Osmore, and your reserve champion crossbred breeding gilt goes to Alex Osmore.
here for Grant Young. We've got some that give us some attitude, so I won't take too long here, but I won't talk them individually, but kind of as I talked as we worked our way through the guild show, once it's Suki and us, I mean, they got to be good in terms of their build. They got to stay square coming and going. And yeah, ones that be built like a show pick, they got to be tall shoulders, they got to be good looking for the wild guild. We'll bring out the reserve cross, and we'll talk out for reserve.
Final call for Class 1 Market Guilds. Final call for Class 1 Market Guilds. And your champion breeding guild goes to Alex Osdemore.
For reserve overall, and one that I talked in that division there, one that I just want to clean up a little bit just in terms of her throat latch and maybe smooth her off a little bit in terms of the crest of her neck there. I think when you talk about though having extremely good pieces in terms of her forearm and her foot size, one that's extremely fresh on the top side of her skeleton, and one that's bulky and bulky in her center skeleton, she's the second best. We'll keep those together. Congratulations to her.
And your reserve champion Art Breeding Guild goes to Alex Osdemore.
You need a piss break.
Congratulations, Alex.
You need a piss break on
Final call for Class 1 Market Guilds, and we'll do a first call for Class 2. First call for Class 2. Thank a volunteer today. Have you noticed the many 4-H volunteers working around the fairgrounds today? Our 4-H program would not be possible without the dedicated 4-H club and fair volunteers who work with our 4-H kids. There are over 525,000 4-H volunteers in the United States. If you get a chance today, introduce yourself, thank them for your support.
Here, grab me that one right there, would you? Yeah. I just need something right on.
You need a different. You want a different one?
Well, it's all over the clothes up here. Those aren't even our clothes.
It's my sweatshirt.
It's not our clothes. It's on somebody else's. No, I don't. I was worried about the clothes. I don't care about the paper.
My phone's somewhere there.
Yeah, I know. Somebody's got some words. Welcome to the Pig Show. I gotta go in like 5 minutes. So just go now. You got it handled. He said he will probably need
In Class 1, we have Zach Elliott, Ethan Greiner, Taylor Black, Delaney Gossmore, McKenna Sick, and Braden Finneran. Final call, Class 2. Final call, Class 2.
Heidi, who's working? Is Nevada back there? Who else? Yeah, actually, I discovered ER stuff.
The first class on market yields. I think the young lady's broken belted yield there is an easy place to start. I think one that would suit either way if we wanted to run in market or breeding. That one's extremely extended there as we study her from blade forward and cute and youthful about her head and neck as we study her there. I think that one's bulky enough as you get into her center skeleton. I would like to open her up ever so slightly in terms of her forerib shape, just to blend her there a notch better. But one that's in terms of being tall-shouldered, extended. That one's the most flexible in class. That one balances the best and fits the best. I think that's a nice place to go ahead and start. Young lady's all black yield's going to be in second. That one's definitely fresh and bold. And then you get on the top side of her skeleton. She opens up extremely square out of the back side of her blade. That one's got plenty of shape as we study her in her upper hip and down to her stifle. I think that one's stout in terms of her feature as well. I think as we compare her to the class winner, that one just gets a notch drier and a notch flatter there through her center skeleton. One that just doesn't have as much look as compared to our class winner. Really like the young man's gilt that's going to be in third from a market and terminal standpoint. That one's extremely bold and extremely opened up as you get on the top side of her skeleton. That one's got some fresh shape as you study there, and one that's massive in terms of her upper hip and her pin set. Just from a skeleton standpoint, we got to change that one. She just wants to get too upright in terms of the angle to her blade. That one's just a notch shorter, a notch rounder out of her hip. She just wants to get shorter striding there and put those roots on the outside of her skeleton there. I think one from a terminal standpoint, really like that one. One from a presentation standpoint, definitely checks the boxes as well. And I think we get down into the bottom three of this class here, and I think there's some differences in terms of muscle shape, in terms of skeletal width as we study them there. But all three of those, we just need to open them up a little bit, give them a shot more look and a shot more feature to move them up. And a nice class of cross yields to go ahead and start the market side of the show. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Final call for class 2. Final call for class 2. Taking first in class 1 was Delaney Gosshorn with a purple. Second was McKenna Sick with a purple, and third was with a purple was Braden Finneran. Class 2 is Alex Osmore, Chase Ryan, Braden Finneran, Maverick Pell, and Tyler Christensen. First call for class 3. First call for class 3.
just I want to thank some of our ring help that came out here today. Gabe Meeks, Butch Blum, Seth Young, Eric Darrington, Nevada in the back, Ashlyn over here with Nevada, my beautiful wife Whitney, Ashley Bame, Heidi Darrington, Kathy Darrington, and Jenny Vincent. Give everybody a round of applause, please.
I see an opportunity.
You guys,
Right.
grab a hold of the opportunity.
I had it. She's on a pedestal right now. Wait, a podium. If you can't have fun, you might as well go home.
Oh my gosh.
You're kidding. I just kissed her ass and told her thank you to my beautiful wife over the microphone, and then you bring this? I'm dead beat now.
You sure who she's like, no.
Next class of market yields. The young man's belted yield's a logical place to start for me. I think if we start bringing all the positives together, that one's probably combines the most, just in terms of being extremely good looking in the front third of her skeleton, tall shouldered and balanced in terms of her lines. So as you get off to the side of her, I think that one's stout enough in terms of her feature in relation to how much she's got on the top side of her skeleton. And I think one that's got plenty of function and plenty of flexibility as we get off both ends of her skeleton. I think a nice place to start on that one. I think there's plenty of sword as we go on down through a second, third, and fourth here. I think as we combine everything, the logical place to do is the young man's black gilt's going to go ahead and be in second. And yes, we need to change that one in terms of her ear set. We need to hammer her down in terms of her shine bone. I think if we actually truly study that one from where she's at, that one's extremely stout in terms of her forearm, in terms of her bone and her foot size as she goes down to the surface. I think in relation to the gilt that's going to be in third, she's bolder in terms of her rib shape. She's better in terms of her center body. If we get on the top side of that one's skeleton, she might not be just as fresh as we study her there, but that one's much more ripped up. That one's got more spread. That one's got more true shape as we study her there. Just fix her in those two areas. I think that one's a unique one to talk there that's going to go ahead and be in second. The young man's calico gilt that's going to be in third. Definitely one that has the upper hand over the one that goes above her, just in terms of look and extension as you get through the front third of her skeleton. Like that one as she studies through her skull shape there in her jawline. That one's fresh in terms of the shape she on the top side of her skeleton. In comparison to the black gilt that goes above her, that one just gets too flat and too dry there through her center skeleton. And the longer the drive goes on, that one's just being a little shorter in terms of her hip. That one just wants to get a little bit more restricted as we study her through her hop, and she wants to put weight on the outside of her toe set. But that one, from a high quality standpoint, a presentation standpoint, a nice gilt that's going to round out in third. Like bits and pieces of the gilt that's going to be in fourth. That one's got plenty of spread as you get on the top side of her skeleton. She's appropriate in terms of her dimension as we get there through her center skeleton as well. Just take issue with that one as we get off both ends of her skeleton. That one just gets a little bit shorter in terms of her neck. That one just gets a little bit rounder and shorter in terms of her hip as well. I think we can just pull that one up off either end of her skeleton. Just give her a notch more flexibility and a notch more look. I think we can move her up in a nice presented one that's going to round the class in fourth. Then the young man that's going to be in fifth. That one's got some extension as you study her there. You just got to bulk her up in terms of dimension, in terms of capacity to move her up. Nice class across spread gilts there.
Final call for class 3. Final call for class 3. In class 2, first place purple goes to Maverick Kell. Second place purple goes to Tyler Christensen. Third place for the purple goes to Braden Finneran. In fourth and fifth, take blues with Alex Asmore and Chase Ryan. In class 3, we have Brooklyn Sedlock, Asha Goodman, Alexander Mass, Ashlyn Borthman, Taylor Jensen, Monica Osborne. First call for class 4. First call for class 4. .4-Hers wishing to sell their animals in the West Fair livestock sale must sign up by Saturday at 5 p.m. Registration forms are available at the 4-H office. Late entries will not be accepted. All sale bill corrections must be made by Sunday at 9 a.m. After that time, no corrections will be made.
I think a lot of differences in sword as we get into this particular class, and the young lady's thin belted gilt's going to go ahead and win, and I think fairly logically, in my opinion. I think we combine that one being the best in terms of her silhouette from the side. That one's good enough looking. That one's got plenty of extension as we study her up front. Really like that one from a presentation standpoint as well. Want to pick on that one a little bit. We need to stock her up a little bit in terms of her ankle, in terms of her foot size as we go down to the surface. Maybe one that we need to lengthen in terms of her hip and let her function a notch better out of it. But if we study that one skeleton, she stays north and south, stays square. That one's the best looking one. Nice place to start with that young lady's gilt. The all white gilt's going to go ahead and be in second here. I think this is where we get a little bit more sword as we go on down the line. I think you get on the top side of that one, skeleton's where you're really impressed with that one. And that one opens up bold out of the backside of her blade and swallows you up in terms of the ditch she has running down her back. Yet that one's big in terms of her upper hip down to her stifle and still stout in terms of her pin set. in relation to the one that wins this class, either got to shorten that one up in terms of her rib, or we need to pick her up in terms of her kind. She's running on the limits just in terms of being too moderate for me today and where she's at from a maturity standpoint. I think that one, we just talked one that's good, the second best looking one, that's the best in terms of her shape. As you get on the top side of her skeleton there, that young lady's going to be second. I think there's definitely some sort as we go on down the line here. Young lady's belted heel directly ahead of me, that's going to be in third. Like that one from an extension standpoint. She's tall, shorter, gives you a balanced look as you get off to the side of her. You just got to fix that one in terms of her center body. She gets too flat and too raw in terms of where she's at, her center skeleton there. As she goes away from us, we want to change that right hawk ever so slightly. She just wants to start pushing that one out a little bit. I think from a quality standpoint, though, that one lands in third for me today. Young man's painted up, though, it's going to be in fourth. Another one that's got some extension, appreciate that one as you study her there. That one just gets too narrow, whether you know the top side of her skeleton or underneath. We just got to blow her apart there and just give her more sheer product from a market standpoint if we talk about that one there. And also when you want to lengthen in terms of her hip, give her a little bit more function there. I think that one where she rises over the ones and twos are going to go below her. That one's a better looking one. And from a show ring setting, we definitely want to give the nod to that one. Just from that standpoint, I think she's got enough in terms of carcass merit as we study her there. Two Berkshire Yelts is going to round out the class. The young lady in fifth definitely has the upper hand in terms of shape as you get on the top side of her skeleton in relation to the one that's going to round out the class. I think we talk from a skeleton standpoint, both of those two just get a little bit tight in terms of their pastern as they leave us. Want to clean them up a little bit in terms of the bottom of their throat and the top of their neck as well. I think we give them a shot more look at the front 1/3 of her skeleton, make them a little bit better in terms of coming and going. I think we can move them up. But a nice class of market yields. Congratulations, those exhibitors.
Congratulations to first place in the purple, Ashlyn Borthman. In second place, Brooklyn Sedlock. Final call for class